Hi, welcome back to the Ascent of Mount Carmel YouTube channel. In most of our installments, I've been asking the viewers to go back and watch the installments in numerical order. And if you've just stumbled on this video and you're watching one of these for the first time, you're going to look at this and you're going to think, man, this is crazy. I'm not going to do any of this stuff. So please go back, cut me a break, and watch the older videos. Ascent of Mount Carmel is a book written by St. John of the Cross, and in the previous chapters he's created a foundation, a basis on which to build on. And in this chapter, chapter 13, he pulls all those chapters together and then brings them to their logical conclusion. In chapter 13, St. John gives us some advice. First, we must try to imitate Christ in everything that we do. We must meditate upon Christ's life so that we know how to imitate it. Therefore, if you haven't already done this, that means we have to read the Bible. Now, I think Ascent of Mount Carmel is one of the most important books ever written, but the Bible is more important. And if you read the Bible, it means you have to read both the Old and New Testament, because the Old is fulfilled in the New. Second, in imitation of Christ, we must reject every pleasure that comes from our senses if it does not bring glory to God. St. John tells us that in this life, Jesus had no other pleasure than to perform the will of his Father. There are probably modernists who would take issue with this, but to follow the path sent out by St. John of the Cross and for us to ascend Mount Carmel is to reject modernism and all heresies. The previous 12 chapters laid the foundation that we must reject all sensory pleasures that don't bring glory to God. But here again we must reiterate that those pleasures don't include the pleasures of participating in family life. The family is a reflection of the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, these things should not be included with the desires that we need to mortify. St. John acknowledges that there are some pleasures to our senses that will inevitably present themselves to us. These things are like the appreciation of beauty, the smell of fresh air, and those sorts of things. However, as we are attempting to enter the dark night of the senses, we should not seek these things out. St. John tells us that if we can do 9 things that I'm going to mention now, we should have done enough to be ready for the next part, for Book 2.
All our dreams for perfection will now be realized.
To enter the second part of the night, we should always strive to prefer, not that which is easiest, but that which is most difficult. Not that which is most delectable, but that which is most unpleasing. Not that which gives most pleasure, but rather that which gives the least. Not that which is restful, but that which is tiresome. Not that which is consolation, but rather that which gives no consolation. Not that which is greatest, but that which is least. Not that which is loftiest and most precious, but that which is lowest and most despised. Not that which is a desire for anything, but that which is a desire for nothing. And not the best of temporal things, but the worst. St. John assures us that if you embrace all these acts with your heart and strive to subdue your will, you'll very quickly find them a great delight and consolation. If you have done these 9 things, you have probably done enough for the night of the sense. However, for greater completeness, St. John also suggests that we need 3 things. The soul needs to work on its own without being distracted. But we'll talk more about this in Book 2. Number 2. Let your soul strive to speak of its own. We're used to a world where we respond to desires for comforts of the body, and this darkens and dulls the soul's ability to reach any higher. But again, here we'll discuss this more when we go over the chapters of Book 2. And the third thing St. John suggests is to always maintain humility at all times. This will be your compass and your rudder. Now, this next section of chapter 13 was written and translated so nicely, I'm not even going to try to paraphrase it, because I think I'd be doing a disservice to St. John of the Cross. It's very beautiful the way it's written. So I'm just going to read it verbatim. Now, these next sections are the final exercise St. John gives us, and they're even more challenging than anything he's set forth to date. It's the synthesis of everything presented before. In order to arrive at having pleasure in everything, desire to have pleasure in nothing. In order to arrive at possessing everything, desire to possess nothing. In order to arrive at being everything, desire to be nothing. In order to arrive at knowing everything, desire to know nothing. In order to arrive at wherein thou hast no pleasure, thou must go by a way wherein thou hast no pleasure. In order to arrive at that which thou knowest not, thou must go by a way that thou knowest not. In order to arrive at that which thou possessest not, thou must go by a way that thou possessest not. In order to arrive at that which thou art not, thou must go through that which thou art not. In addition to this, St. John tells us, when thy mind dwells upon anything, thou art ceasing to cast thyself upon the all. In order to pass from the all to the all, thou hast to deny thyself wholly in all. And when thou comest to possess it wholly, thou must possess it without desiring anything. For if thou wilt have anything and having all, thou hast not thy treasure purely in God. The validity of St. John's exercises is suggested by the mathematical truth that when you multiply negatives, you achieve a positive. And this positive is the greatest positive that we will ever experience. It's in complete detachment the soul finds its quiet and repose. We should strive to be like a basketball player who doesn't get too high with any victory or too low with any loss, but always tries to stay on a steady keel. With us, if we don't desire anything, nothing will weary our souls when we are lifted up, and nothing will oppress our souls when we are cast down, because we'll always be centered in our humility. The moment we lose that and desire anything of this world, our souls will become wearied. Well, I hope you enjoyed this installment. Please pray for the church. We'll be back again next week.
Said it's a hard road to travel and a rough way to go, but I can't turn back. My heart is fixed, my mind's